Bueno, a continuación le damos la bienvenida a Claudia Prieto, quien es estudiante de cuarto año en licenciatura en Lengua y Literatura Inglesa de la Universidad de Chile y quien actualmente es tesista en el seminario de literatura dictado por el profesor Héctor Ferrada. Claudia nos presenta Men's Submissions Against Women's Agency in Wuthering Heights, a rebellion aspects within the patriarchal society of 19th century. Un aplauso, por favor.
Well, hello. I'm going to present in English as well. And this presentation is about a man's submission against woman agency in Wuthering Heights, which was a rebellious aspect within the patriarchal society of the 19th century. Throughout the Romantic period, women's power began when a new spirit emerges in terms of legal, political, and economic futures. Many critics in the field had analyzed this feminine power in terms of women's behavior during that epoch, but and how they resisted the oppression of this patriarchal society. But during the 18th century, Rousseau established that, and I'm quoting, woman was the natural complement to man and so should act accordingly. And although this statement can be absolutely reaffirmed within the 19th century, there are also different angles to appreciate the gender dominance. And in this presentation, I will focus on this topic within Wuthering Heights, which was a novel by Emily Brontë, published in 1847. And this novel reflects a complex combination between romantic elements and also Victorian aspects. So female agency has been a complex object of study within this novel for many years, but generally the critics take the behavior of the characters. However, the analysis of Catherine, the main protagonist, and the analysis of Catherine's ghost in the novel has been overlapped within the novel. So, and the only thing that they take is the her appearances in the first part of the novel. So this analysis is almost entirely focused on the female agency in Wuthering Heights that is carried out by Catherine Earnshaw, but especially throughout her presence as a spirit, and also in the narration of Nelly. As I already mentioned, quotes are taken from Rousseau, who described the parameters that rule in that epoch, and he states that woman is made especially to please man, and so should be the mistress of the domestic and material arts. And following this idea, this proposal reformulated those statements and said that in this novel, we consider that woman is the central figure in the novel and man is the complement of her. As well as inside the Victorian age, women were seen as potential mothers, with explicit prototypes of the owner of the domestic domain. So according to Deborah Gorham in her book The Victorian Girl and the Feminine Ideal, we can see how women must adopt the behavior and the physical appropriateness to their sex. So taking all of this into account, the entire analysis will be focused first in the woman's emancipation of Catherine over her life with her husband Edgar Linton and her lover Heathcliff. Second, her emancipation as a spirit in the emotional state of Heathcliff. And finally, how the narration itself denotes female agency too at hands of Nelly. So it is possible to see that the powerful presence of Catherine from the very beginning of the novel, and it is showed in her behavior during the encounters with Edgar. Since the beginning, Catherine's manipulating and controlling personality appeared as a sign of intelligence and passion, and she's always showing capricious desires, which demonstrate an intelligent agency that is prompted by the author for special reasons. She is described as savage, dirty, and neglected little child, and throughout the novel she showed ambitious requests and trying to get whatever she wanted, in contrast with the woman behavior of that epoch. Woman must be delicate, cordial, and submissive, and she is definitely the opposite to that stereotype. The following examples show her intense character and the passive temperament of her husband. In one of their discussions, Edgar leaves her alone and she responds, "Not yet, Edgar Linton. Sit down. You shall not leave me in that temper. I should be miserable all night and I won't be miserable for you." So in this part, it can be seen the manipulation that she intends to do with Edgar's emotions and her lofty tone, that is an authoritative tone, in order to achieve her purposes. Her present provokes submission by part of her husband that is relegated to a second level or a second space in the domestic domain. She does not assume a secondary role in her marriage too. She is designated by the author to get away from this domestic field, creating a mandatory role in her house. She's no longer the child with these adventurous ideas in her mind, but a woman with an excitable and temperamental character. She sees Edgar as a person who can manipulate and who can be subordinated to her personality, saying, "For mercy's sake, let us hear no more. Your cold blood cannot be worked into fever. Your veins are full of ice water, but mine are boiling, and the sign of such a childness make them dance." Her exciting argumentation shows her authoritarian tone in front of her husband, who, in contrast with his wife, does not express any type of emotions or actually powerful actions. Catherine's blood is on fire, which means that her passion is the one which guides her orders and dispositions. Her capricious whims are also lead us to the fundamental role in the novel, with the self-destruction of the most important character, which is Heathcliff. It is relevant to mention Heathcliff's role because it is important to take into account the counterpart of male in the story. So he is the one who produces the main changes in the house, in the family interchange too. So it is of paramount importance to show how female emancipation plays here, because Catherine at the end is the only one capable to overlap his dramatic presence inside the novel. Catherine is always interfering with the atmosphere and emotions around Heathcliff, and she has the entire control of her lover's decisions, which is another proof of this woman emancipation during the novel. Their love demonstrates a spontaneous overflow of emotions that is not recollected in tranquility, as Wordsworth said, but recollected in tension, where the correspondence between these subjectivities creates an emphasis on woman agency. They were very close in their childhood, but they separated because Catherine was very worried about the social class that she wanted to possess. So their relationship suffered a break for some time, and Catherine's marriage to Edgar. They encounter again, and Heathcliff talked to Nelly, the narrator, very secure about Catherine's feeling of behalf on him. He says that you suppose she had nearly forgotten me. Oh, Nelly, you know she has not. 2 words would comprehend my future: death and hell. Existence after losing her would be hell. And this phrase summarized the entire idea of the influence that Catherine had on Heathcliff, because their love is the principal destruction of Heathcliff's mind. And the very well-known phrase said by Catherine is, "I am Heathcliff. He is always, always in my mind, not as a pleasure any more than I am always a pleasure to myself, but as my own being." And this famous quotation shows the same level of importance of male and female in the novel, which was not seen before. And their mutual lack of respect, and in contrast the passionate love that they have, create an atmosphere of tension when it is clearly demonstrable that Catherine is the authoritarian part in their relationship. In the passage when Catherine is on her deathbed because she died, they saw each other for the last time, and she appeared in very bad conditions, and Heathcliff is desperate about her state. He begins to say with him, "Oh, Cathy, oh my life, how can I bear it?" referring to the miserable life that he would have if he loses her. And she responds, "You and Edgar have broken my heart. I shall not pity you. Not I. You have killed me." And we can see her selfish personality here, because she's dying and she only cares about herself and not the men that she's supposed to love. The bond compounded by the correspondence between them breaks conventional parameters of corporeal love. According to Burke's essay on the sublime, these type of experiences, the supernatural experiences, create terror, and beauty is leave aside. And in that sense, the appearances of Catherine's soul in the form of a ghost produces exactly the opposite in Heathcliff. He is obsessed with his lover and with the appearance of his lover. The introduction of this romantic notion helps to understand the powerful presence of woman again in the story. Other passages which show this idea is precisely after Catherine's death. Heathcliff is in a state of desperation and madness, and he cannot stand her death. He cannot accept his life without her counterpart. In one part of his speech, he mentions, "You said I kill you, haunt me then. Take any form, drive me mad, only do not leave me in this abyss where I cannot find you. I cannot live without my life, and I cannot live without my soul." So Catherine's presence torments him, and her agency can be seen in the image of this ghost for the rest of the novel. After a long time without her, and in his last months of existence, Heathcliff still remembers her as his other half. Catherine's presence has not disappeared, and she's always present in her mind. And he said that the entire world is a dreadful collection of memoranda that she did exist and that I have lost her. So after these words, we can see how Heathcliff is seen as a weak character, an emotional character, because of the mere remember of her existence. Hareton, Catherine's nephew, for him also was a representation of the woman agency that Catherine had in her mind. And he said that there was like a ghost of my immortal love, of my wild endeavors to hold my right, my degradation, my pride, my happiness, and my anguish. So there was a torment that was with him until the end of the times. And this last speech showed the submission under the figure of Catherine's in every aspect. In addition to these ideas mentioned before, the most interesting passage and the last passage where we can see the bonding between this couple is the anxiety in which Heathcliff calls Catherine's ghost. At the very beginning of the novel, Lockwood, the narrator, stays at Wuthering Heights and finds a room which contains the name of Catherine Earnshaw. In the night, she appeared as a ghost. She was very scared, and Heathcliff reacts with angry, and he was very disturbed because of the situation. He doesn't feel fear, but fascination for her appearance. And he said, come in, Cathy, do come, oh do once more. Oh my heart's darling, hear me this time, Catherine at last. And in this moment, it can be noticed that Catherine is still present in Heathcliff's heart, making more explicit the power in all these aspects. Also, the words "once more" exemplify that this scene was a current event along his life. And as a final part of this analysis, the relationship between the two principal narrators of the novel, Nelly Dean and Mr. Lockwood, also helped to understand the female agency in the novel. Under this perspective, in terms of authority, Nelly is the one who leads the story in the whole novel. She is the one who connects the stories between the two houses, Wuthering Heights and Trust Cross Grange. And following her view, the entire scene are appreciated. And although she belongs to the domestic setting, she transgresses the environment, and she inserts herself as a very powerful and dominant character within the novel. As it can be noticed in the following quotation, Lockwood is a weak personage and narrator. He concentrates on the light spirits and describes the story embedded in his inner fears. One of the most famous in Wuthering Heights is the one that Lockwood confronts Catherine's ghost, but he reports the passage in the resulting manner. The intense horror of a nightmare come over me. He accepts his weakness, and at the same time, he behaves in a way that it was not permitted for men in that epoch. Taking this into account, he asked Nelly to tell the story about in Wuthering Heights, and he said, "Well, Mrs. Nelly, it will be a charitable deed to tell me something of my neighbors." And this statement can be seen as another reason why Emily Brontë decided to deny men figure to the backyard and position Nelly as responsible to tell the story, and in a way trying to that women could tell the story and demonstrate their view and to generate more power in the female figure. The authority that the author relies in Nelly is not only by contrast to Mr. Lockwood, but also because he's the one who is in charge to praise her function as a narrator. After Catherine's death, he tries to tell the events of that day, but he does, but only repeating Nelly's words. He said, I'll continue it in her words. She is, on the whole, a very fair narrator. I don't think I could improve her style. And this compliment can be associated with Nelly, but also with the author. He has explicitly granted the authority of women and leaving aside his own narration to a second level. So, as a conclusion, it is possible to say that there is a turn in Emily Brontë's novel. She wishes to create a change between what happens in the novel and what is happening in the reality in her society. And she imposes the female aspect in an exorbitant manner through several romantic elements such as supernatural, as we see in here. Principally, the strong personality of Catherine in her marriage with Edgar and with his lover Heathcliff are another proof of that element. Moreover, this female agency could be noted in the supernatural elements and in the Nelly's narration. It will be very interesting to keep investigating on this storytelling about women, because it's one of the most important aspects with the exchange of letters that occur in the novel, which can exemplify the empowerment of women. So thank you very much.
¿Preguntas, comentarios por la presentación de Claudia Prieto?
Claudia, primero quiero felicitarte. Dio un himno y una presentación muy interesante. Lo que voy es, en verdad, no sé si tú habrás hecho la conexión un poco, pero que el personaje de esta novela se llame Catherine y la de Northanger Abbey también se llame Catherine, y que sea un personaje súper sumiso y que esté como súper dependiente de lo que va a decir el hombre, de que ya tiene que tratar de conquistar al tipo que vive en Northanger Abbey y todo esto. No sé si tú habías hecho esa conexión, pero me interesa mucho ver cómo el romanticismo, como que los elementos del romanticismo agarran como la misma, o sea, la mujer de la época y la transforman. Entonces, no sé, ¿qué opinas tú al respecto y si habías hecho esa conexión imaginada?
No, la verdad es que no había pensado en Northanger Abbey, pero yo había estado trabajando con la agencia femenina dentro de Great Gatsby también, que se ve en otra época. Pero claramente vemos como un cambio de lo neoclásico que pasa a lo romántico, donde hay hints como de emancipación femenina, y después donde se vuelve a lo victoriano, que la mujer vuelve a ser completamente sumisa, la mujer madre principalmente. Pero realmente es el romanticismo, como tú dices, el que le da la agencia a la mujer. Estos elementos sobrenaturales son los que tiran a la mujer un poco más para arriba del hombre, que era un reflejo que la mujer quería, o sea, que la autora quería reflejar que no estaba pasando realmente en la época. Ella de hecho se tuvo que cambiar el nombre a un nombre de hombre, para poder lanzar el libro, al igual que las hermanas. Las hermanas también tuvieron que inventarse el nombre de hombre para poder lanzar los libros. Por ende, sí, yo creo que obviamente el romanticismo es el que tira un poco a la mujer hacia arriba y que después se vuelve a eliminar en la época victoriana. A pesar de que esta obra sí fue escrita en la época victoriana, está catalogada prácticamente como un texto romántico. ¿Cómo no? No podía faltar el profe Daniel.
Sí, pero escuchar esa lógica de que efectivamente como que hay dos componentes acá, porque la emancipación y lo que es la agencia. Claramente hay agencia, pero el libro es bien romántico. Entonces finalmente como lo que tenía una agencia que es, como yo le digo también, es bien poco emancipadora, realmente. Porque Catherine, que lo único bueno que hace toda la novela es morirse, no, porque es terrible, efectivamente. Ella lo que hace es que sea un control emocional, pasional sobre los hombres que tiene marido y amante, y a los dos lo hace sufrir de manera realmente increíble. Es una lista de cómo hacer pasarlo mal a un hombre. Y lo que tenéis son hombres sumisos por la mera pasión. No es que cante bonito, no es que sea chistosa, no es que sea simpática, sino que como toda esta cuestión de simplemente no puedo ir. Lo que tiene que estar ahí para hacerlo pasar mal, porque es un poco medio de gusto. Pero ese sentido como que tu tesis, y esta es mi pregunta, podría tener algo que ver con el hecho de que el romanticismo, por la estructura que tiene, no le podía dar cabida en cuanto laboral, ni la transformó en una empresaria exitosa, ni tampoco una persona particularmente muy digna de respeto social. Simplemente la transformó, o sea, la presenta como una mujer capaz de ejercer una influencia sobre el hombre sobre la base de la manipulación romántica. Y quizás eso explica por qué como imagen, como intento, el romanticismo se fue a pique igual que el hipismo, ¿no? Entonces como que pasamos directamente al victorianismo, que incluso bastante peor que lo que había antes. Entonces de repente no habrá ahí una hebra que en el fondo como que la intención romántica muere por como es el romanticismo.
Es que claro, es el romanticismo el que le da como esta agencia, como dice usted, porque no le podía dar otro tipo de agencia. O sea, en el contexto en el que estábamos hablando, la mujer no podía tener, aparte de salir del espacio doméstico, ahí se podía quedar. Entonces creo que claro, yo intenté ver esta agencia femenina y esta emancipación exactamente como dice usted, por un tema muy emocional. O sea, yo vi la manipulación, de hecho lo discutimos mucho con mi profe, de cómo la manipulación igual era un acto de inteligencia. O sea, ella podría haber sido la sumisa cualquiera, ella podría haber sido la mujer ideal y Heathcliff, que es el personaje principal, haber llevado toda la trama. Pero eso mismo era lo interesante de ver cómo el personaje principal de esta obra se ve relegado a un segundo plano solamente por la agencia de la mujer, que sea cual sea el caso, ya sea por manipulación o no, sí sobresale con respecto a los otros personajes. No sé si respondí la pregunta realmente.
Muchas gracias, Claudia, súper interesante. Para agregar el punto de Daniel, en Jenner, que es considerada como una obra súper feminista para esa época, siendo también hermana de Emily, se considera que Jenner está a la misma altura no recuerdo el nombre, ya lo olvidé, pero se considera que ella es una mujer que se emancipa al seguir su sueño y luego está a la misma altura de quien era en su momento su jefe. Después, no quiero hacer mucho spoiler, así que lo dejo ahí. Pero la única forma en que Jenner se encuentra a la misma altura de su jefe, su pareja, es cuando él queda discapacitado, automáticamente queda discapacitado. Entonces, de cierta manera, uno puede decir que el romanticismo trata de emancipar a la mujer, pero en este caso, Catherine tiene características que son vistas de mala manera por la sociedad. En el caso de Jenner, el hombre tiene que estar en una situación de depender de alguien más para poder así estar a la misma altura que la mujer. Es decir, que el romanticismo de esta doctora, en verdad lo que hace es bajar al hombre, no subir a las mujeres. ¿Qué te parece esa postura que la interpretación que yo di cuando te tocó leer?
Sí, por eso yo hablé mucho de que era súper importante hablar de la contraparte de la mujer, porque claramente si vemos solamente la agencia femenina podemos encontrar muchas cosas, pero el tema también es en la bajada del hombre, pues cómo el hombre se ve sumiso porque la mujer lo manipula. O sea, el hombre es débil no realmente porque no tenga su fondo, porque no tenga el dinero o porque esté relegado de su aspecto a una bajada, sino solamente por el tema de cómo la mujer sube al como bajar al hombre bajo esos aspectos. O sea, yo también lo pensé mucho, de hecho, cuando empecé a hacer el paper, si realmente existía esta agencia femenina o no. Creo que sí existe, pero bajo esos parámetros totalmente emocionales, no de otra manera. Y también creo que la agencia femenina se debe a una bajada totalmente del hombre. A lo mejor no es que sobresalga hacia arriba, sino que el hombre es el que tiene que bajar, como dice usted, para que la mujer pueda tomar esta agencia, y que finalmente a lo mejor no se ve como emancipación, pero sí dentro de la novela podemos ver que la mujer sí toma un rol fundamental, sobre todo con la narración, que fue lo que yo incluí brevemente por el tiempo. Pero es la mujer la que al final se posiciona como la narradora, como la mujer manipuladora y controladora por sobre el espacio doméstico y por sobre la casa, en este caso en general.
Muchas gracias, Claudia.
Veamos otro aplauso más. Ahora nos dirigimos a una pausa, un coffee break.